Hi guys, welcome to Westminster Uncensored. I'm Michael Heaver.
I'm Patrick Christie.
And where else to start today but the big Italian election? Eurosceptic surge through Italy. Patrick, very, very interesting. Absolutely. Where are we with this?
Well, this is the news. There's been an earthquake in Italy, the tremors of which will no doubt be felt around the corridors of power in Brussels. The exit poll is in for the Italian general election, and the Eurosceptic five-star movement look to be polling at around 0.5% of the vote.
Boom.
And the other little Eurosceptic collection of parties here, the Forza Italia, led by none other than Silvio Berlusconi, and as well some others, Liga and the Brothers of Italy, collectively are polling at around 31% of the vote. Compare this to the pro-EU Democratic Party, which is languishing on 22%. Big news for the potential end of the European project.
Guys, we're going to be diving into all of this, but as ever, dive in, tell us what you think. If you enjoy what we do, give us a retweet, like us on Facebook, visit westminster.com. We were going to go through everything going on in Italy right now and more. But as Patrick says, a real seismic election result.
Absolutely.
Anti-establishment, Eurosceptic forces really rising to the top. In fact, Nigel Farage had something to say. He tweeted out something, we can bring it up now, just on Five Star, who actually came first. And there we have, he said, congratulations to my colleagues in the European Parliament, Five Star, for topping the poll tonight. Quite unbelievable if you think about it, that you've got a party that sits with UKIP in the European Parliament just topped the poll in first place in Italy, this anti-establishment five-star movement. But it doesn't tell the whole story. There's a lot of different things going on here, guys. We're going to try and explain it to you. Basically, Five Star came first. They're the largest single party. But there's a coalition of three other parties who wanted to come together as a bloc.
Yeah.
And it comprises of a Silvio Berlusconi party, Forza Italia.
Well done. Very nice. Very nice pronunciation. He's just been to an Italian restaurant, you see. That's what it is.
That's the one, yeah. Brothers of Italy, which are a much smaller party, quite hardline, I think. Sort of nationalist party.
Out there.
And then you've got this party called Liga, who really are potentially the power brokers here. They're anti-mass migration, critical of the euro. Now, they actually came top of those three parties. And we've had their leader, Matteo Salvini, and we've got the story up on westminster.com, guys. We'll go to that in a bit.
Yeah.
But he's basically been talking about the potential coalition deal. We've there got the story about all of the different parties.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a run through in a minute. But yeah, very interesting things going on in Italy. Very, very interesting. Let's just boil down, I think, because you're hearing all sorts of stuff flying around. And some of you guys have actually said you've not been getting enough information. We want to boil down for you what each of these parties stood on, these major hitters. So you've got some idea, flavour of why this is such a massive result in Italy.
Well, that's it. Well, just while I'm doing that, guys, we've already had some key comments flying in. So Gary Pritchett saying, well done to the Italians. Stuart Husband there saying another nail in the EU coffin. So as I'm running through these parties now, please keep flying in with your comments. We're going to go to some comments afterwards. We want to hear from you.
So I just want to jump in. Lincoln Simpson's a regular view on Twitter. Thank you very much. Says, Mondays are not shit anymore. No, they're not. 1 o'clock Monday. We are here to brighten up your life and let you know what is going on. Completely uncensored, of course.
Absolutely. Well, look, guys, I'm going to break this down for you now. So the League, led by Matteo Salvini, as Michael's rightly pointed out there, just some of their key promises in the run-up to this referendum. They said they wanted to expel illegal immigrants that come into Italy. They want to do that by striking up agreements with the countries that these people have come from. They reckon that figure could top 500,000 people. He's also said something very interesting for you guys. He doesn't want George Soros to be able to set foot in Italy again if he comes to power. Well, it looks like he might have come to power, so that's bad news for Georgie boy.
Now, you hear all that stuff, guys. This is before a party. We're going to go to the other parties in a minute, but just to think, this is a party that was sort of on the fringes. Now, potentially, and we're going to go to the exact comments from their party leader as well in a minute. So much going on. But this is potentially the leader of this party could be the next Prime Minister of Italy. Yeah. I mean, this is a real turn up for the books.
And just on the point of the mainstream media, because we've had a lot of comments coming in, guys, just saying, look, we're not really getting a lot of this in the mainstream media, and when we are getting it, it's being bracketed as this big far-right victory in Italy. And actually, it's not particularly. This is really important, guys, why we need your support here at Westminster, because we do just want to bring you the straight facts from the continent. We're big on our European issues here, as you know, so please do visit westminster.com/support and help us out. But just returning to what some of these parties stand for. So the League, as we've said, expelling legal immigrants, banning George Soros from coming in. They want an Italian-first approach designed at reducing unemployment and getting people onto the property ladder. And crucially, it's basically said, look, unless the EU agrees to let Italy off some of its financial obligations, they want a referendum on whether or not they should stay in the European Union. The 5-star...
So this is the 5-star. So that's the Liga who came top of the 3 combination.
So at the minute, he's possibly most likely to become the Prime Minister. We'll see.
We'll see. But the 5-star movement are the biggest individual party.
Yes.
And Patrick, this is an anti-establishment and a relatively new party, bringing something completely different to the table.
Well, this just shows what can be done with people power, really. You know, this started off as a blog by a comedian called Beppe Grillo, and now they're potentially about to walk in the corridors of power. 5-star movement, they said, they want to reform the euro, right? But if they don't get any reform on the euro, which I think we can all agree is quite unlikely given the way the EU do their business, it would want a referendum on whether or not Italy should stay in the single currency. Now, I'll go on record here and say right now, straight from my particular opinion, if there is any kind of referendum on the euro in Italy, I think they'll be out of it quicker than you can say goodbye George Soros. Their solution to the migrant crisis is to sign bilateral agreements with other countries to repatriate these migrants, so similar to what we've seen there with the League.
And then we've got Berlusconi's Forza Italia party.
Again, we're seeing here a big push to reduce illegal immigration.
You're noticing a pattern yet, by the way?
Yeah, reduce illegal immigration. They want around 600,000 illegal immigrants out of the country. Crucially now, here's another big hammer blow for the EU project, this. He's looking to introduce the fact that Italian laws, the Italian legal system and their judiciary, would outweigh EU laws. At the minute, obviously, there's a hierarchy there where the ECJ takes power. So he wants that taken out. And the Brothers of Italy, as Michael rightly said, they're a little bit out there, I think. But again, they want an Italy First programme designed to give Italians first access to their social services. They want to limit the number, it's a bit of a bizarre one, this one, but they want to limit the number of foreign children in each classroom. Very Eurosceptic, anti-Lisbon Treaty, so here we go.
So bottom line, guys, pounds, shillings and pence. You're now looking at and we trailed this a lot on Westminster, as you know, if you're regular viewers, you'll see all the stuff we do on Europe because it's interconnected into what's going on with the European Union. I personally think the European Union is completely and utterly doomed. It's getting trounced every election. And this is yet another election where the European people have backed Eurosceptic parties that are against open borders.
Absolutely. I just want to come to your comments, guys, because these are absolutely flying in. There's some gold here. Anthony Pratt, after Brexit, let's have, are you ready for this, guys? Quitterly. I like that. Quitterly. That's going to catch on. Go on. Moaning Merkel should be strung up. That's from Tanis. Mark Appley, I think I've got that right. Sorry, mate. Saying the EU is doomed. It's broken beyond repair. And more people...
Dean Barker there, great job, guys. Thanks very much, Dean.
Tanis, just one last one from me. Sorry, Michael, just saying the world is waking up, but will the EU listen? I suspect not.
It's a mixed old bag on Twitter. We've got Paul Willis saying the EU is anti-democracy. Dan Graham saying Europe may just be waking up. And then the flat earthers, who's clearly lost his marbles, saying, Michael is hot. What do you guys think? He's got the bad boy look. What do you think about that, Patrick?
Well, he's only human.
Well, I mean, you know, the jury's out on that one. But back to Italy.
I'll give you his number afterwards if you DM me.
But back to, we've also got YouTube comments. Lots of YouTube. Come on, Italy, you can hardly blame them. The socialist EU needs killing from Europe. Interestingly, a pattern that's, I think, as important as the whole rise of the Eurosceptic anti-mass migration forces is the centre-left party. In Italy, as you're seeing in every election, the main lefty party, you're seeing it, the SPD in Germany as well, are absolutely bottoming out. They're getting trounced. Even President Macron's approval ratings in France have just sunk to 30%. I think it's the joint lowest since he's been in office. And my question is, centre-left parties now, what do they actually stand for? As far as I can make out, you vote centre-left if you think everything's marvellous, you think open borders is great, you think EU centralisation...
Are you happy with your economy?
And you're sort of happy with the status quo. And that is what you're seeing in Italy. You know, so many new parties that previously were on the fringes, become mainstream, popular forces. And, you know, the 5-star movement, a relatively new party, topping the poll completely. Absolutely. We are just going to go touching on Matteo Salvini. This is the leader of the Lega party. Potentially now Italy's next Prime Minister. Quite unbelievable. We've got the story up there on westminster.com. Do go visit. And by the way, guys, as we always say, sign up to our red alert. You can go and see it on all of our stories. That's our email. You do not want to miss out. No BS. You'll just get the facts there. And also, we do appreciate your support if you like what we do, if you want to see us do more of it. But there you go. You had Matteo Salvini this morning. Reiterate, I plan to maintain my word as regards being part of a coalition of the centre-right. That's with the other two parties. Centre-right is the team I want to work with. Interestingly, now, you know, you see with some European politics, don't you, Patrick? Sort of this whole Euroscepticism, it can fade. The closer they get to power, it can do. He said today, the euro was, is, and remains a mistake. Now, I put it to you, and let me know what you think about this, guys, that for the next potential Italian Prime Minister to be saying that the Euro is a mistake and remains a mistake for Italy is, extremely high stakes for the European Union as a whole.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Guys, come more comments here. Richard McDonald, the end of the EU is coming. And this is interesting here. Which one's that one, Michael? But what about... there we go. Michael's getting
loving the banter today,
Michael's
guys.
Getting
I don't know what's in the water.
A lot of attention, interestingly, from both men and women here, Michael. So I don't know what that says about you. But look, here we are. We're seeing a lot of a seismic shift taking place here in Italy, as we've seen. And I really do think, I'll go on record and say this. Look, guys, we've got now become mainstream parties in Italy just openly talking about getting out of the Euro and having a referendum. I challenge anyone to disagree with me on this. If Italy had a referendum today, now, on EU membership, they would leave. And I think so would Hungary, and I think so would Poland. The EU project really is crumbling. Just
so what you can expect really now, guys, you're going to see a lot of horse trading. You're going to see a sort of an extended period of negotiations as to what exactly composition makes up the next Italian administration.
Yeah.
One thing's for sure, guys, Brussels are going to be worried. In fact, Matteo Salvini actually said this morning he loves Jean-Claude Juncker, and every time Juncker opens his mouth, we get more votes.
Absolutely.
So I certainly think those sitting in Brussels right now ain't going to be too happy, ain't going to be too comfortable. And let's not look in isolation at this, guys. Think of what's happened in Austria. You've now got the Freedom Party, an incredibly anti-mass migration Eurosceptic force. They're in government there. You think what happens at every single election now. In Holland, there's amazing things going on with a new anti-EU party, Forum for Democracy, who are just surging like you wouldn't believe. Euroscepticism is now winning at every European election.
And we're seeing this, look, even when it's not won outright. Look at the rise of the AfD in Germany. Look at the fact that Marine Le Pen obviously was second in the French elections. And we're seeing this right across the continent. And so how much longer can this EU project and the EU bigwigs there in Brussels just go along and pretend that everyone's on board with their EU ideal? There's a growing groundswell of negativity about the whole EU project. And as long as these elections keep happening, as long as these groundswell of support for Euroscepticism keeps happening, it's going to have to change the way that Brussels operates or do away with it entirely. But I will make this point that the longer the EU keep pretending everything's fine, just covering their ears and eyes to it, the more negativity they're going to garner across the continent. And they're causing their own downfall here by not representing and not acknowledging the fact that people aren't happy with the way they're doing business.
Guys, let us know what you think. If you're enjoying this, give us a like on Facebook, give us a retweet on Twitter, and don't forget to visit westminster.com/support. We're going to go to your comments in a minute, but I just want to make one final point on this before we move on. Everyone talks about how this is, a hard right agenda and anti-establishment and that. Doesn't it just come down to this, guys? Doesn't it just come down to the fact that people in Europe, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Italy, whether it's anywhere else, they just want a country that makes its own laws, governs itself, and controls its own borders?
How radical is that?
Is that really so radical? Is that really so radical that you as a country, your government, should have the ability to determine who can and who cannot come into your country? Is it really so radical that the people that you elect should be able to determine the laws and not just have things foisted upon them by unelected people in Brussels?
It's crackers, isn't it?
Is that really so radical? Or is that actually quite rational and normal?
But what's interesting, isn't it? We just had the BBC on before here in the studio just before we came on air because we wanted to see what their latest coverage was. And they're calling it a victory for the far right. There's this bracketing now that anyone who wants control of borders, anyone who basically wants national sovereignty, the ability to create your own laws, the ability to maybe decide your own destiny, you're now radical and far right. It's a very dangerous use of language here being thrown around.
Couple of cracking little comments there. Paul Jensen, EU extremely useless. Love a bit of that. We've also got Dino there.
We've got a viewer from Italy. Look, guys, we are actually building a big international audience here at Westminster. We're going to show you something later on, not in this stream, show you something later on. We had Canadian television in this, so they're all standing up and taking note. But we've got a viewer from Italy saying, today I am proud of my fellow Italian brothers. That's from Dino, fantastic.
The top comment there as well. We've
top
got
comment.
Not far right, just right. And Tracy's saying, well said, boys. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for all of your support for watching. Do give us a retweet, do give us a like. And if you support what we do, guys, please go to westminster.com/support. If you can contribute, if you can help us grow, we want to add more shows. We want to do more of this. We want to do reports. There's so much we want to do. With your backing, we can do it. So
our viewers are climbing every week, guys. We've got 308 watching just live now, and that's on Facebook
180
alone.
on Twitter.
180 on Twitter. We've got YouTube as well. Just want to say a quick hello to our YouTube viewers. Thank you very much.
65 on YouTube, so that's building.
There we are.
Love
so look,
YouTubers.
Craig McKenzie, just one more comment to throw in here before we move on. Craig McKenzie saying, talking about this, the idea that you're now far right, obviously, if you just want to have some kind of national sovereignty. Craig McKenzie saying, no, it's not radical, but it's mainstream media hate it. If you're not left wing, then you're far right. And that's where we are today, guys.
We've got Richard saying, great show again. Richard, don't worry, we're not going anywhere here. Buckle yourself in. We're only just getting started, baby. Richard, we've done it earlier. We've got to return. Good.
We did have a lovely comment as well saying I wonder how many empty bottles are in Junker's bin today. Absolutely fantastic. I imagine more than usual, which is a lot.
A little bit tense in old Junker Towers, I imagine. But look, let's move on because it isn't just Europe that we're covering. We're covering Britain, Brexit Britain, what is going on in our country. And we had a speech today from the Prime Minister, Theresa May. Again, you can go and see all of this on westminster.com. And she's talking about the housing crisis. And it's yet another speech that talks about the housing crisis and doesn't mention one key fact. Well, actually, quite a few key facts, Patrick. We've got quite a few of them in the piece. Guys, mass migration is fueling the housing crisis. When you talk about anything like housing, like strains on public services, it's about supply and demand, right? So everyone in the UK at the moment, and Theresa May, the establishment, they're all talking about supply. How can we increase supply? How can we build more houses? How can we make people do it? How can we get... Fine. But what about the demand side? And some truly amazing statistics in terms of the sheer amount of people coming to Britain every year and the amount of housing stock we need just for those coming into the country.
Well, look, this is it, guys. Just before I go into these facts, I just want to make something very clear. There are a lot of factors at play with the housing crisis. A lot of things, north-south divide, cost of living, etc. Look, we're not ignoring those here at Westminster. We're just saying that you can't hope to solve this issue at all if you, as a government, completely ignore one of the major factors in the housing crisis, that being the population surge fuelled, of course, by mass migration. So we're going to give some figures for you here. Britain saw an annual population increase of 538,000, 62% of which was fuelled by net migration. That's the highest number for 70 years. This is an interesting fact for you now. Of the 1.2 million households built between the years 2005 and 2015, 1.1 million of them went to people who were not born in the UK. And the population is set to rise by 70 million, to 70 million by 2029 as well. In London, migrant households now account for nearly 2/3 of all households in the private rented sector. If you were to build the amount of houses that were needed to...
I mean, this is crazy. Just wrap your head around this one from Migration Watch.
So if you are going to build enough houses to accommodate all the people that are coming to Britain due to mass migration, you would have to build a house every 5 minutes.
I mean, this is insane. This is insane. And guys, this isn't just like, we get some trolls on them. We do love our trolls. We like a bit of banter, whatever. But this is fact, right? And we got a BBC story here just to show you as well. The BBC reported it at the time. Look, UK population rise of 538,000 in 1 year is biggest for 70 years. Now, if you think that doesn't have a significant impact on the demand for housing and the housing crisis, then frankly, you're off your swede. 538,000 in 1 year, that's in 1 year, the highest for 70 years. And you've got Prime Minister talking about the housing crisis. And it's as if this surge in population, this net migration in the hundreds of thousands isn't going on. Well, it is going on. And if you have a population growth of over 500,000 people a year, guess what? That places severe demand on your housing stock. That's a fact.
It's not rocket science, guys. Adam Coulson here is just saying this is absolutely nuts. And look, guys,
well, it is, isn't it?
Well, I want to make a point that it's, because obviously we focused on the housing crisis there, but I just want to make a point on the pressures that it's putting in Britain's public services in as a whole. In 2006, in the NHS, in 2006, 97% of patients that went to A&E were seen within 4 hours. Now, that's dropped to just over 81%. The number of children being taught in class sizes with 36 pupils or more has trebled in the last 5 years. Now look, there are a lot of factors at play here, as you said, and we can't emphasise that enough, but this is basic mismanagement of business. If you have an issue here, such as the housing crisis, if you only focus on a couple of elements of that, the cost of living, the north-south divide, unaffordable housing, fine, that's all very well and good, but you are going to solve absolutely nothing if you completely ignore the other factor as well, and that is the fact, obviously at the minute, that mass migration is having a huge impact on the housing crisis.
And I just want to emphasise this one more time. If we could just go back to the BBC article there, just get that up one more time. I just want to emphasise this. Next time you hear a report on TV about the housing crisis or the NHS crisis or roads or school places or whatever it is, you just remember that. UK population rise, 538,000, 1 year, biggest for 70 years, and 62% of that, not all of it, but 62% of that is from net migration. For us to be having a debate in this country about pressures on the NHS, pressures on housing, pressures on school places, and not talking about this historically significant, population surge fueled by mass migration is insane. And until you tackle that, until you start bringing these numbers down, until you start controlling borders, you ain't going to be able to get a handle on it.
But it's plastic politics, isn't it? It's a classic politician trick, as we see a lot from Sadiq Khan. You stand up and you do a lovely photo opportunity and you just say what you think appeals to your core vote base. It's never in a politician's interest. It's never worth their while because of the backlash they will get a lot from the mainstream media to go and bring up population surge fueled by mass migration. So it's not dealt with. And if it's not dealt with, then the problem's not going to go away.
We got our YouTube following is actually building now. We've got a few comments on here. Guys, thanks very much. Well, if you're on YouTube, do remember to subscribe to us and hit the bell so you're notified when we're on. You can do the same on Facebook, by the way, guys. If you scroll down to when you first came on, click the bell, you'll be notified. I believe you can do the same on Periscope as well. So we don't want you know when we're on, but you might want a cheeky little reminder.
Absolutely. Well, why wouldn't you?
So we've just got someone on YouTube as well making the comment that the contempt the media has for the British public is evident whenever they report on the housing crisis. They never even mention immigration as a factor. And I agree with you. I tear my hair out about it because it's just crazy, isn't it, that you've got this historically high figure, over 500,000 in 1 year, and yet it doesn't ever get factored into, I wonder why there's such a demand for housing, why there's such a demand for the NHS.
What's the end game here? You've got Theresa May here pledging money for housing things. Basically, you're going to build on the green belt, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Fine, but everyone must know. She must know it's not going to solve the problem. This is the thing. So it's just hollow words, isn't it? And what she's doing here really is kicking the problem down the road because she presumably will be out of power by the time that it becomes an absolute monumental crisis, although of course we're not far off that at the minute.
Guys, if you enjoy what we do, please do support us. Go to westmonster.com/support. Many of you have already done, and we really do thank you. If you like what we do, if you watch this show regularly, do support us. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're not done yet, by the way. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back tomorrow, and then we're going to be back on Friday at 1 o'clock. It's going to be the next Uncensored. But special broadcast tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled out for that one. And then Friday at 1 p.m. And now, Patrick, we go to our next story. And by the way, if you are enjoying this, as ever, do give us a retweet, do give us a like, do visit westmonster.com. We really do appreciate it. Yeah. Now, this story is going to sicken you.
Yeah, Patrick. It is. I mean,
this is horrific.
I mean, I've seen a lot in my years in journalism so far, and not a lot shocks me anymore. But this actually really, really did. In fact, it made me genuinely angry. There's a teacher who's been found guilty of trying to basically recruit an army of children to wage coordinated terror attacks around London. His name is Umar Ahmed Haq, and he's tried to recruit up to 250 children at the Lantern of Knowledge School in Leighton, as well as at the Ripple Road mosques. Apparently, he was friends with Khurram Butt, of course, one of the London Bridge attackers. What's specifically interesting about this is that he didn't actually have any teaching qualifications, despite them being a job as, believe it or not, a PE teacher, and then also a religious teacher at this school, a school that was rated initially outstanding by Ofsted until it emerged.
Well, it doesn't seem very outstanding to me, does it?
Until it, of course, emerged that he was a frothing, raging terrorist, and now it's been downgraded to requires improvement. He was found guilty of 2 counts preparing to commit terror attacks. Apparently what he was doing was getting the kids to reenact the attacks of Westminster Bridge and London Bridge. He was showing them ISIS propaganda, showing them beheading videos, showing them everything. This guy was at that school for years and he wasn't picked up. No one reported him. The kids were too scared, apparently, because he told them that if they did report him, they'd be tortured and killed. You know, this guy's awaiting sentencing, but he was also part of a wider cell. There were a couple of other blokes involved as well.
We're going to keep highlighting this.
This is it. Look, guys, here at Westminster, we need to keep highlighting these kind of things, and we want your support to help us do it, because there is a massive problem here with regards to terror in the UK and radicalisation, especially among children. Because if this guy's, if this guy's got caught, all right, but how many other people are like this around now? And they are recruiting hundreds of kids who are going to be the next generation of jihadis, aren't they? And this is a massive problem in Britain.
Chris C on YouTube, regards from mainland China, guys. Keep up the good work. I love it. We've got the international flavour. We've got viewers from across the world. We really do appreciate you tuning in, guys. And, visit westmonster.com to keep up to date with everything we talk about. It's great that we've got so many people across the world now, because at the end of the day, and I always say this about Brexit, I truly believe, guys, that we are about to live in if our politicians have the balls to see it through, a golden age in our democracy. In that, I believe where Brexit Britain leads now, a country that cooperates with European partners and trades and has cooperation, all that good stuff, but controls its borders, makes its own laws, blazes its own trail in the world. If our politicians have the balls to do that, I think many other countries in Europe will join us outside of the European Union.
We could be able to see. I mean, at the end of the day, it seems that Italy's, who's obviously just coming back to what we spoke about at the beginning of the show, Italy's EU membership now is pretty much hanging on a thread. seems like if the EU is unwilling to reform on basic things such as immigration, such as the euro, which, let's be honest, it's not going to reform, is it? The chances are we're going to have a referendum in Italy within the next couple of years, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, every single election now, Eurosceptic forces are winning. Europeans, the idea that to be European is to be pro-EU doesn't, it's been completely contradicted when the people of Italy, the people of Austria, the people of Germany, I mean, don't forget
Hungary,
Germany. We get to Germany in a minute.
Czech Republic.
What is to be European? I would argue now, increasingly, it's to be Eurosceptic. And it's to want these basic things. It's to want your country, your politicians, those accountable to you to make the laws, to make the decisions. And to stop with this open door madness where people that you know nothing about, and you don't have any sort of control over come into your country. It's absolutely.
And this is an interesting point here. Just turning back to this teacher that has been found guilty of trying to basically create a child army to wage coordinated terror attacks across the capital. Hazel Trenner's got in touch. Thank you very much, Hazel. Good to have you on the show. Just saying, prisons. They equal another place of radicalisation. That's the problem, isn't it? This bloke's going to end up in prison, quite possibly surrounded by other people that are jailed for radicalisation, and this is how the problem grows. We've got Paul Norman on Facebook saying, hi guys, keep up the excellent work. All the best from Finland. Absolutely loving it. I tell you what, guys, tell us where you're watching from today. Whether it's in the UK or elsewhere. I'd love to see the geographic spread even within Britain. It's great to know, actually, there's people watching across Europe, across the world. Because, as I say, what we do at Westminster, we don't just do Britain, we don't just do Europe, we do American politics, we do all of it. You've got to look at the democratic revolution that's sweeping this country, this uprising, I think made possible by the internet and the prism of a global political scene. And also, guys, as well, when we highlight a lot of things to do with knife crime and stuff, a lot of the time it's magnified around London, which is fair enough, but we know that a lot of you guys are from up and down the UK or even abroad. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can message us, you can email us, you can do whatever. Let us know what's going on in your areas as well, and we can maybe try and highlight things there and paint a broader picture. That would be great to have you on. Now, we're going to move on to our last story now, and it's Germany. Some incredibly interesting things going on in Germany. We know for a long time now that we've had a severely weakened Angela Merkel limping on, and by the way, we know that you guys are big fans of her, of course, the architect of the disastrous EU open border project that's, just being rejected by the European public every single time they get a vote. Patrick, what's happened over the weekend on the vote? Well, gosh, what on the with the German Defence Minister? Yes, there's basically been there's been a vote on the. Basically about the EU security system. Oh no, the coalition. So basically, wounded Merkel is clinging to power. She's agreed. Yes. She wants to do this coalition deal with the lefty SPD, which until recently was led by Martin United States of Europe Schulz. Who else? And the SPD had a vote on it. Yes. Their membership. And in my opinion, 66%, and it's basically the Labour Party of Germany, 66% have voted in favour of propping Angela Merkel up. I think they've just signed their political death warrant. They have. I think they're absolutely dead in the water. And I think you're now going to see in Germany, the Alternative for Germany, AfD, who already in one poll are polling in second. I think they will now become the major challenger to Angela Merkel. This is just a prime example about how politicians on the continent just don't get it, do they? You have an incredibly unpopular leader in Angela Merkel. Protests take place against her on seemingly a daily basis. She's essentially endangered an entire continent, and she's now being propped up by an even more unpopular party. So what's going to happen now? All the people of Germany feel that they're underrepresented. They don't feel like their views and their vision for how they want their country to go forward is being accurately represented in government. What are we going to see? It's not rocket science, guys. It's interesting. I think that this lot, Merkel's lot, and the others are going to get absolutely served at the next election. Well, just going back to where you guys are watching from, thank you so much for letting us know. So a real big spread here, Missouri, USA. Says Zena. We've got UKIP Salford from Manchester. We've got Parker Penn from Manchester. Andy from Hull. I'm sorry about that, Andy. Jezza from Devon. TX History Lover, North Carolina. I mean, guys, this is a global audience. I'm absolutely loving it. One from my hometown here, Manchester, Peter Corbish-Lee. We'll have to meet up for a pint next time. We seem to be big in Manchester. I'm loving a bit of that. Durham, Isle of Wight on YouTube. Melbourne, Australia on YouTube. Fantastic. From the north of England, we say bring on the mog, says Harrison. Oklahoma. Guys, it's absolutely fantastic. Please help us grow. Retweet, like, share, tell your friends. Go to response.com/support. Help us grow. We're really going to keep smashing these shows out, potentially add more shows. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm loving your comments. Sunderland, Brexit Heartland there, Leeds as well. Guys, look, like Michael's just said, look, we do want to do news in a different way. When you turn on the BBC, when you turn on the mainstream media, you're not really getting what you want, are you? You're getting it in a particular way. Look, you can come to us here for the straight talking things that you desire. Merkel is on life support, says Spike. Yeah, she's been on it for a while. How she's still in power is beyond me, said Anis Bond on Twitter.
You know, very interesting.
Yeah.
For her to stay in power in this weakened state, I think you're going to see the Alternative for Germany grow. And, you know, I've always said, when you have a situation where the second most popular party in Germany, in a German-dominated EU,
big things,
is anti-Euro, anti-open borders, and big concerns over the EU's overall direction in terms of open borders and migration policy, then you're fundamentally looking at a European Union that, from the inside, is starting to kind of part.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and this is one thing we want to highlight for you here, and as well, we've got another one here
this is our final story, and this sums it up about the whole idea of a German-dominated EU. I read this morning, guys, and I find this story slightly disturbing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a bit creepy, really. So obviously the EU army was never going to happen and never will happen, apart from the fact that it is happening.
That's what Sir Nick Clegg said, of course.
Yeah, so the German defence minister is now calling for the EU to respond as a bloc to crises. Nice and vague there, of course, but basically what this is that they've actually come out and said, Germany's defence minister Ursula von der Leyen has said that the EU should move towards a system where a majority vote of European nations could mean that the EU can react to various crises going around the world with a single voice. She's actually quoted here as saying, we are thinking about perhaps moving towards a majority vote in diplomacy and foreign affairs where we can respond rapidly to crises and speak with one voice, one European voice. So, get this, you cannot be blocked by the one country who doesn't want you to utter anything in the direction that Europe wants to speak.
Yeah, we can't have governments making decisions. Well, no, it has to be done by this.
Let's just strip this down to its absolute core here. The European Union now wants to be able to send your boys and girls off to war, even if your country disagrees with it. That's pretty bloody worrying, isn't it?
I think so. And just before we go back to that, we've got a lot of shout-out requests here. So I'm just going to go through.
Go on,
so for where we've got some of the audience from Jamaica, Simon. Jason, Geordie in Brum. Warrior King, say hello, County Tyrone, Northern Ireland. I'm on Uranus. I mean, I very much doubt that one, you cheeky little
Although we've got a couple of people commenting so far that would like to be, I think, Michael.
Maybe. And we've got Rotherham calling, Palestine. I think that's another professional piss taker having a pop.
All the best from Australia.
North South Somerset. Benidorm.
Russia.
Oh,
classic. Costa del Crime.
How are things in Benidorm? Do let us know. What do people make of Brexit out there? I'd love to know. But look, guys, this last story, we'll just go on it again if we get it up one more time.
Yeah, let's get it up one more time.
I just want to reiterate it. You've got a German defence minister here talking about one European voice when it comes to crises and talking about basically being able to overrule governments that don't want to go in the direction of this so-called one European voice on the world stage.
Yeah.
This is an unashamed push, isn't it, for an EU army? And when it comes to foreign affairs and to wars and to conflicts, oh no, there's not going to be government's choice. It's going to be the European Union. That's where it's going. That's where it's going.
Led by a commission that is unelected by you. And this is interesting, isn't it? When people do talk about a second referendum, this, that and the other, how does the Remain side think that it's going to win that second referendum if it does happen? Obviously, I don't think it will, but if they think that actually, realistically, now we can just go out and say, well, hang on a minute, if we got ourselves back into the EU, we could end up in a situation where our military could be used to fight in a war that we don't want, led into it by an unelected official sitting there in Brussels. It's absolutely crackers.
Well, guys, it's been great to spend some time with you today. Love the comments as ever. Very interesting. We talk about the European defence army that they're going for now, the German defence minister. I think, as in Italy, you're going to see Eurosceptics continue to win elections. We're going to be covering all of it at westmonster.com, so please do visit us. We've got a special broadcast tomorrow, so have a look at our social media channels to stay up to date with that.
Very big
and then we're
news
back
now.
for the next Uncensored, 1 p.m. UK time on Friday. So have
Wednesday.
a good week. No, the next one's on
Oh,
Friday.
Sorry, there you go.
The next one this week's on Friday. So we'll see you on Friday at 1 p.m. Special broadcast tomorrow to stay up to date. Have a great week, guys. Thank you very much for making us laugh and having some fun today.
Take care. All the best.